So, do you want to know why I built a house on land I can't own in the Philippines? Even though they told me not to? Every time I make a video about this house, somebody asks the same question. They say the same thing. Scott, why would you build a house on land you can't own? Now, sometimes they're polite about it. Sometimes they're not. Some people tell me my wife is using me. Some tell me I'm building a house for her family. And some say, once the house is finished, I'll find myself standing outside the gate with nowhere to go. And honestly, guys, I understand why people say those things. Because if I was sitting back in California watching some old guy build a house halfway around the world on land they legally could never belong to him, I'd probably ask the same question. So today I want to answer it. And it's not because I'm trying to convince you to do what I did. In fact, some of you shouldn't do what I did. But I do want to explain why I made the decision. Because it wasn't just one decision. It was a bunch of little decisions that led me here. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'd know that this journey didn't start with a house. It started with a relationship. 18 years ago, I met my wife Josie. And actually it was 20 years ago, but that's another story. Now, if somebody had told me back then that one day I'd be riding a scooter through Nueva Vizcaya, building a house in the province, arguing with contractors about hollow block walls, tie beams, railings, and solar panels, I'd have thought they were crazy. But life has a funny way of taking you places you never expected to go. Now, before we talk about trust, let's talk about fear. Because that's what this conversation is really all about. Fear. It's about the fear you're going to lose your money. The fear that you're going to trust the wrong person. The fear that you're going to wake up one day and realize you've made a mistake you can't undo. And if you've spent any time watching YouTube videos about the Philippines, you've heard it all. Don't trust your Filipina. Don't trust Filipino contractors. Don't build on land you can't own. Don't retire in the province. Don't do this. Don't do that. Eventually, you start wondering if there's anything left that you can do. Now, here's the thing. Some of those warnings, they actually exist for a good reason. Because some people have absolutely been taken advantage of. Some relationships fail. Some contractors are terrible. And some people make decisions way too fast, just way too quick. Those things happen, and I'm not going to pretend that they don't. But here's the question I asked myself. What exactly was I supposed to do instead? So let's think this through. Because option one, renting. A lot of people rent. There's nothing wrong with renting. But the truth is that every month you're paying someone else's mortgage. And every month you're writing a check and building their wealth instead of your own. And maybe that's okay with you. But it wasn't what my wife and I wanted. Then, of course, we all know that you can buy a condo, because foreigners, they can own condos. You've probably heard that 100 times. But the reality is that most condos are in the cities. You're never going to find, or at least I haven't heard of it, in the province. You'll find them in Manila, in Cebu, and Davao, in the cities. And that's not what I came to the Philippines for. I didn't leave California so I could spend my retirement looking out the window of another apartment building. I wanted the mountains. I wanted province life and an opportunity to build my own little paradise, our own little oasis. Then I've heard this many times too. Buy an existing house and renovate it. That sounds good until you start looking. And then you realize you're inheriting somebody else's decisions, their floor plan, their mistakes, their shortcuts, their idea of what a home should be. And so maybe you do decide to renovate it. Maybe you spend a fortune fixing things. Maybe you end up tearing half of it apart anyway. At that point, why not build what you actually wanted in the first place? So eventually I realized something. Every option required me to spend money. Every option came with a risk. Every option involved compromise. The question wasn't whether I could eliminate risk. The question was, which risk was I willing to accept? And that brings us back to the real issue, doesn't it? Trust. Because people keep confusing two different questions. One is a legal question, and the other is a relationship question. The legal question is pretty simple. Can a foreigner own land in the Philippines? No, they can't. That's the law. You can complain about it, you can argue about it, and yes, I know there's guys who are going to tell me all about these workarounds that they found, but those are legal matters that I can't address. But it really doesn't change anything. Now, the relationship question is completely different. Because that asks, can you trust the person you're building your future with? And only you can answer that. For me, that answer came after 18 years of marriage. We're not talking 18 months, not 18 weeks. We're talking 18 years of marriage. My wife and I, we've worked together, we've struggled together, we've succeeded together, we've raised our son together. We've built a life together. And you know something? When our construction budget got tight and we needed to keep the project moving, Josie sold some of her own stocks that she was holding for her future without anybody asking her to do it. And that was her decision. It was her contribution and her investment in our future. And moments like that really matter. Because trust isn't built through words. Trust is built through actions. It's built through years, through consistency, through seeing who someone really is when life gets difficult. Now, some of you guys who are watching, you're single, and you might be thinking, well, Scott, that's easy for you to say. You've been married for 18 years. And you know what? That's a fair statement. If I had met Josie 6 months ago, I wouldn't be building a house. If we'd been together for a year, again, I wouldn't be building a house. Because the house came after the relationship, not before it. The relationship is the foundation. And the house, that's just concrete and steel sitting on top of it. And if you can't build a healthy relationship, that's a completely different problem. In fact, that's probably a future video all in itself. So now let's talk about something else people rarely discuss. And I call it the walkaway test. Because before I spent 1 peso building this house, I asked myself a simple question. What happens if I am wrong? Seriously, what happens? I'm not talking about emotionally, I'm talking about the grief and all that stuff. I'm talking financially. What happens? And for me, that answer was pretty simple. I'm still okay. Because my Social Security supports a comfortable life here in the province, and I like living in the province. I have savings, I have options. So if everything somehow fell apart tomorrow, I could rent a nice house and continue living comfortably. That's not what I want, obviously. Would it be disappointing? Of course it would. Would it destroy my apartment? No, it really wouldn't. And I think too many people skip that particular calculation because they put every dollar they have into one basket. then they panic because losing that basket means losing everything. And I never wanted to be in that position. So let's talk about something else. Let's talk about what we've gained, because everybody wants to talk about all the risks and nobody talks about the rewards. Because we designed this house. We sat down and drew up a floor plan. It wasn't the developer, not the builder. It was us, me, my wife, and my son. We chose the layout. We chose the rooms. We chose where the pool goes. We chose where the kitchen goes. We even chose where we're going to sit and drink coffee in the morning. We decided to install solar so that our electric bill will be almost nothing compared to what it would be. And we drilled a well, so there's not going to be a water bill. There's no landlord. There are no rent increases, no lease renewals. And there is not going to be any notices telling us we need to move. Every improvement benefits us. Every decision benefits us. And honestly, guys, building has been fun. It's been stressful sometimes. It's been frustrating sometimes. But it's been a lot of fun. There's just something really satisfying about watching an idea become reality. About standing in a room that existed only in your imagination a year ago. You just can't put a price tag on that. And finally, there's something else people don't understand about Province life. And that's community. Because everybody already knows us here. Of course, her family knows us, and she's got all kinds of family. I mean, everybody's a cousin. The neighbors know us. The barangay knows us. People watch out for each other here all the time. No, it's not perfect, as nothing is. But it isn't anonymous. People know who you are. People, they get to know your story. And that creates a different kind of accountability. It's a different kind of security, one that's hard to explain until you've lived it. So, would I do it again? Absolutely. I have no problem in my heart building something for my wife. Not because it's risk-free. Nothing is. Not because everybody should do it. They shouldn't. Because for us, after 18 years of marriage, after her standing beside me for 18 years, after all the conversations, all the planning, all the research, all the dreams we've shared together, it was the right decision for us. And that's really the point. You shouldn't make this decision based on what I've done. Although I hope that it helps you understand things a little bit better. You shouldn't make it based on what some guy in the comments section says either, though, guys. You should make it based on your situation, your finances, your relationship, and your goals. That's the only opinion that really matters. Well, guys, that's all I have for this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.